Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of the Big Apple Battle, a New York baseball podcast. Ed, I have one very important question to ask you today. Can you taste it? Do you smell the hot dogs in the air? Because opening day is less than a week away. Let's go.
I'm so glad you said that. I was really concerned what you were going to ask me I was tasting, but yeah, I can smell some smoke in the air. Something good's coming. I'm ready for those glizzies.
Are you a hot dog guy or are you a burger guy the same? I know there's some people who choose burger. I don't know about all that.
Oh,
I feel
nah,
like it's
footlong
never that
all
good.
day, man. Footlongs or nothing. And if you're going like baby hot dog, what's the point? You're spending too much. You're not getting
I
your
will,
values worth.
I will say it's the one thing Yankee Stadium does better, which is, they don't really have the best food as we know in comparison to City Field, who's won awards, but they offer the foot long hot dog. Where at City Field, my wife and I, we've looked everywhere. We have not found one.
And the footlong hot dog is 6.75, the best value. And I don't care what you're talking about in terms of the food offerings you got at City Field, Shitty Field, whatever you're going to call it. It
Mm,
is a pain in the ass to get online for anything.
all right.
Inline, online, whatever you want to call it, and you're not getting off that line for 2 to 3 innings. So
All
just
right,
saying.
Ed. You know
I
what?
know you're all excited.
Go enjoy your tiramisu bucket melting in the fucking 100-degree
I
sun.
absolutely will. It's better than your deep fried rainbow cookie, that disgusting abomination. I went out of
That
my
I
way for that.
You didn't like it?
It's gross. It's disgusting. It's all chemicals, dude. It's garbage.
I
So
mean, yeah, I haven't tried it. The pastrami sandwich, though, I will say for anyone visiting City Field, highly recommend that. And you cannot shit on that, Ed.
fair enough, but we're getting one from Lobel's now, so we're trying to keep up with you guys.
All right, all right. Well, we'll do an episode on food comparison reviews. We'll order it all and we'll eat it all because obviously, Ed, we're down.
That's it. And all I care about is getting my hot dog and getting back to my seats. Something Mets fans don't care about because they're just there for the
Don't
atmosphere.
get me started on the corporate environment that is Yankee Stadium. But okay, you know what? We're getting off track already, but this is why we do this because I don't like the Yankees and you don't like the Mets, and we love New York baseball.
We don't think of you guys, so that's just
Yeah,
how I feel.
I just live in your head rent free. You live in mine rent free. It's just how it goes.
Whatever makes you feel better. You're just the Mets.
Oh, and before we get into segment one, I think you had something you wanted to touch on that is going to hurt me a little bit. So, what did you have to offer today, Ed?
I don't know. I think it's something that just worth touching on based on all this conversation. Notably the fact that you have a free agent that left the friendly confines of Yankee Stadium, as I like to call them, the
Yeah,
Cathedral,
friendly, yeah.
uh, for your Carnival Playhouse, whatever you want to call it, little Funland
The
place on
fun
Long
zone.
Island. Yeah, the thing in the middle of a parking lot in Flushing, Queens. But in this, all obviously talked about to no end. But the Mets have unveiled or have been promoting a documentary about his signing with the Mets. I'm sure you've heard about it. It's called The Pursuit.
Yeah,
Have you
yeah,
heard about this?
yeah. Unfortunately, I have.
And yeah, dude, I don't know. I want to give you a hell of a hard time, but it's really not about you. It's about kind of my standing in the way media is going with all of this stuff. Obviously, we're working in it and we're trying to build this podcast and we want people to listen to us and clicks matter and all this stuff is great. But the pursuit of what? It's a joke. Like the pursuit, like the purse, the pocketbook pursuit? There's no pursuit. You didn't have to sway him with anything but money. Uncle Steve was going to bring him over no matter what, and the Yankees were going to have their limit. I don't understand what they're going to break down for us. And you hear their head of creative or content marketing. Oh well, people really want to know what's happening behind the scenes and how they made this happen. Really? Come on, man.
And listen, Ed, not to cut you off because I have strong feelings about this. One is just being a baseball superstitious person. I hate releasing something like this so early before anything happens because God forbid an injury comes from this, a few poor seasons,
Right?
whatever.
You beat me to it. Yeah.
That's in the back of my mind. But also to your point, I would be okay with this again if it came out after they did something, after he did something, after they won something, after he broke a record, after they won that World Series the first time since '86. Like, why are we doing this right now? Just to capture the moment, make a couple extra dollars? Who needs the money?
So
Steve?
you're
I don't
so
think
you're
so.
so Steve certainly doesn't need the money. So you're seeing it similarly to the way I am, right? You see this as something that I don't know, maybe from what I'm gathering is it can only set you up for failure. Obviously you can do well, but like this isn't going to do anything to drive excitement. Fans
Mm-hmm.
are already excited.
Yeah.
Like if anything, you're just setting yourself up for something bad to happen, or that's the way I would look at it, especially being a Mets fan with all
Yeah.
your
And
history.
if anything, it might tarnish that excitement a little bit, I think. And I'm already seeing posts on social media about it. And like, there's people in the comments calling us clowns yet again because we're releasing a documentary about acquiring Juan Soto for just basically giving him the largest contract in sports history, mind you. Again, to your point, I agree. It didn't take much convincing. The money talks, and we got him. Amazing. I'm excited. I can't wait. But now we're again a laughing stock which could have been fully avoided this time, but we released a documentary about the pursuit of Juan Soto before he did anything in a Mets uniform in a regular season.
Cue the circus music. That's all I can say. It
Yeah,
is. It's that they're looking for more ways to drive excitement around something that fans are already inherently excited about. There's not much more you can drive around it, and it does. It makes you look a little bit like a rinky-dink franchise, like the Little
exactly.
Brothers, like the ones who are saying, "Hey, it's me. Give me attention. We're still
Yeah,
here."
yeah, like, look what we did. But like, who cares? Like, I'd rather watch a making of that pastrami sandwich versus Juan Soto's pursuit before he even becomes a Met in a regular season, plays a game in the regular season, wins a playoff game, hopefully
You
brings us to a World Series. It's so stupid, Ed.
you can have a Juan Sodi with your pastrami sandwich to wash it down
Juan's
with.
Juan Soda.
But no, but again, to your point, and I just want to wrap this whole
Yeah, yeah,
point up
yeah,
with
yeah.
one thing that it reminded me of, and this is going back to last year, the Trey Turner documentary, right?
Yes,
I,
yes.
I don't know how you felt about that, but I'll give you my opinion because that's what we're here for. I looked at that like this was what a wonderful story. Great that fans actually, and Philly fans especially, getting behind their player, right? It's a, you're going through a slump, you're having a terrible time out there, and they say, Philly fans, let's all get behind Trey Turner. Let's cheer for him. The first at bat, let's do it. And great, it was a great moment. It was nice to see, but that was it. And he went on to tear after that. But how did the season end for the Phillies, Alec? Tell me how it
Exactly.
went.
Oh, I'll tell you how it ended. You know how it ended, Ed. As a Mets
in
fan, we're happy how it ended.
in happily miserable fashion for you. And that's where I'm saying, if that's how it's going to end, what was the documentary worth? Just a feel good
Exactly.
story for 5 seconds? I just don't quite get it.
And I will say the one thing that honestly interests me the most about the story is how Philly fans could actually stand up and cheer for a struggling player because they are ruthless and cutthroat, similar to New York fans, where they will boo you until you perform or run out of that city.
Yeah, I
So
wanted the documentary about the filth they spew. That's what I want.
yeah, about them throwing shit on the field, how they can't have dollar dog night anymore because they abused it. Like
Or
Philly
forcing
fans are the
themselves to
worst.
throw up on a child. A Philly
Yeah,
fan did that, like forced
that's
his fingers down his
crazy.
throat to vomit on a child.
Hey, I mean, we went to plenty of Phillies Mets games down in the Philly area. We got stuff thrown at us. We got guys kicked out. It was a great time.
Hey,
But
it's all about the atmosphere.
the last note I will put on this, and we could tie a bow on this, but like to your point, again, a documentary would have been awesome if again they made it a deeper run into the playoffs. Maybe not even win the World Series, maybe make the World Series. Maybe Trey Turner carried them in the playoffs. Like who knows? Like it could have had
Totally.
a funner twist to it. Instead of just kind of just another let's capture the moment. Let's get a few couple extra dollars here.
Right, something mid-season to turn around quickly just for a buck. And again, it's all for eyes and clicks, and it's all great, and
It's
it
all
does keep things
clickbait.
relevant. But yeah, in the end, it does feel a little like, what's the point of a documentary that had no real good? It didn't have a finish. It just
Yeah,
didn't. So just wait a couple months and then find a better way to tie it up. Don't do it mid-season. Don't do it before anything happens. And hopefully for you guys, this doesn't set up anything terrible.
and you know what documentary I'm going to be excited for is in early 2026 when we do one
Oh,
on the
the Yankees
Mets
World
World
Series film.
Series.
Sick. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
yeah. That'll be
Jinx.
nice. Yeah, that'll
Give
be
me a
good.
Juan
That'll be
Soda.
good.
But Ed, I think we've spent enough time on this topic, but I'm glad you brought it up because it just made me miserable. So thank you very much.
And now we're on the
We're
pursuit of greatness on a season ahead, right?
we both are. And that's the outlook now. Segment one, baby. While we are super excited, of course, optimistic for the 2025 season, there's obviously still a bit to sort out here in camp, Ed. I know, we have under a week away until opening day. There's still some top headlines, I think, that we need to discuss across both Mets and Yankees camps. Specifically, who are those last few players still fighting for a spot? So if you don't mind, I'll do the honors and run through my quick Mets camp buzz and last minute headlines to wrap up spring training over here in Port St. Lucie.
I absolutely don't mind. Please, Alex, start spreading the news.
You've been holding that one in for a while,
Yeah, that was tough.
huh? Well, you know what? It was good. I'll give you that. But
And that's
you'll
enough
appreciate.
compliments. Get to it, all right?
All right, yeah, yeah. But you'll appreciate the first guy, obviously Clay Holmes, ex
Yes.
Yankee, now Met.
I
He
think this might be called the
has,
Clay Holmes podcast by the end. I'm just saying.
yeah. I mean, let's see how he does in the regular season. But right now, I'm going to give him his flowers because he's posted a .93 ERA in 5 starts this spring with 19 innings under his belt and a .78 WHIP. Yes, yes, Ed. It is spring training. I get it. It doesn't matter. Everyone's going to say it doesn't matter until you step in front of that 35,000 plus screaming fans. But yeah, I don't like we don't have to downplay this, right? It's still definitely a confidence boost, not only for him converting into a starter role, but also this fan base. Also, clearly, he's shown something to Mendoza and the Mets organization because he's getting the opening day nod. And he said it himself. He's super excited. As it's his first time getting that opening day start. The jitters obviously will be there, but hey, you just got to feed into it and enjoy that moment. I'm excited to see him pitch.
And it's nice that he's got experience in New York on big stages. He just came from pitching in the World Series. So if
Yep,
you're thinking about nerves, this is kind of a great way to segue into being a starter. And again, what better way than to throw you into the fire of opening day? It'll be on the road against Houston, a team that he's got experience against. So it's
exactly.
not quite the same as a typical opening day. And again, in a situation where your ace, Sean Manaea, or who is considered your ace going into the season, isn't necessarily available, I think it's a great way to get him introduced to your fans and, right, just rip the band-aid off.
Yeah, and also I was going to say, arguably, having a slow heartbeat as a starting pitcher is super important. But people, I think, gloss over the fact that you need to have a slow heartbeat as a closer, even more so, I think, than a starting pitcher, right? And I think
Absolutely.
he's had that in his career. He's had some tough moments and bad luck obviously happened to him, as a closer, when he was a Yankee. But
Hmm.
at the same time, he already has that slow heartbeat. I think it's going to transition well into the starting role. As long as the stamina is there and he doesn't get hurt, I think, he has all the tools he needs to be a top end rotation guy. So that's my first bit of camp buzz. Just excited to see Clay get out there because of what he's done in spring.
Oh,
And
we
then
all got to
Ed,
root for Clay. We all got to root for our guy. He's
and I, yeah, you guys can't not root for Clay, right?
can't not. You're gonna have some salty Yankee fans who are gonna say I never liked him, but in the end, this guy's he's cut his teeth here, and he deserves a good shot. And really happy to see him doing well so far.
I can't agree more. And this next guy, you don't have to root for, but why wouldn't you? Because it's Beatty, Beatty, Beatty. I
Master
know
Beatty.
it's also a Beatty podcast because he is leading the Grapefruit League in OPS. Once again, Ed, another stat that kind of really means nothing. But again, the Mets organization and to Beatty, it means everything because, in my opinion, it's essentially solidified him as that replacement to Jeff McNeil while he's out. And this is arguably the biggest 3 weeks of this man's life. I mean, I know we talked about it, time and time again on this pod. He's conquered spring training for multiple seasons. He's a AAA slugger. He's proven it at all levels, but not at the big league level. He's 25 years old. If he wants to be a Met and wants to start in New York within this organization, he essentially has to prove it, at the big league level, and he has to prove it now. So, I'm really excited to see what he's got. And honestly, I really want to see him work out and watch him play alongside his buddy Mark Vandas. That'd be really cool.
That would be amazing, and it's nice to see it all coming together. And again, like you said, spring training. Maybe it doesn't mean much, but you certainly like to see a hot start to it, and especially rolling into camp the way that they are with that position open. To see that he hasn't made himself look bad in any way, I think that's
Exactly.
all they were really looking for, right? Is he's had that leg up for that position, it seems like, and if he's tearing the cover off the ball, that's a great problem to have.
And I
Well,
still got
not really
that
a
baseball
problem,
card.
huh?
And still got the baseball card sitting there, hoping
It,
hoping for the best for Brett.
in the humidor, keep well, I guess not in the humidor. You would not want that in a dry glass case, keeping it away from all the elements. So whatever
It's,
you can turn this
no, it's
into
just
profit wise.
in my fridge in a plastic bag next to the tuna. But no, no, no. We got it
Nice
nice,
and moldy.
nice and safe, nice and safe. But yep, Beatty, I'm pumped for. And Ed, as we go down the list here, we know the starting rotation has been a concern. This is obviously still a topic of discussion right now to who is going to round out this rotation with both Manaya and Montas on the shelf. But both, this was interesting actually. Peterson and Sanga are hanging back in Florida while the rest of the team, makes the trip back to not to New York, excuse me. We're starting the season now in Houston, but makes the trip to Houston because Sanga and Peterson are going to be making additional starts, which kind of tells me that McGill and Canning may wrap up this series in Houston. So this is interesting. I want to talk to you about it because it's definitely more of a new school era, right? Where in the past you always rolled out, I feel like for the most part, your best three in your rotation to kick off the season, your top dogs, your 1, 2, and 3. But now it's not really the case. I feel like we're really protecting players in 2025. So yes, it sounds ugly. But it looks like to me it's gonna be, and I could be wrong here, but from what I'm seeing, it looks like it's gonna be Holmes, McGill and Canning, or some sort of combo of those three. And then Peterson and Sang are obviously going to join this rotation when we get into back to New York. And then obviously Manaya Montas will join the team when they're ready. But this is interesting to me because it sounds shitty, but I get it because you're playing kind of the long game here and trying to take care of your guys.
Yeah, and I completely understand it. It actually, looking at the old school way of running out your top three guys and hoping for the best kind of sounds a little silly sometimes, especially when
Agreed.
you're rushing them back just for the fanfare of opening day, right? And how often was that disappointment prevalent when you didn't get the ace on the mound but now with analytics, with the way we look at the game, it's changed in the last 20 years, completely changed. and probably more so in the last 7 to 8, right? Where it could be an opener on opening
Mm,
day, and people would be like, "Oh, that's okay." So we are not as stuck in the past with the idea that we have to have the traditional starter and our top three guys, top flight guys, go right away and start the season 3-0. I don't think anybody looks at it that way. Obviously, you want to start the season well. You more wins early leads to less stressful games late, right?
yeah.
However, nobody's at their best early on. You're going to be playing people's best on the other side, and their ace is not going to look like their ace. So in the end, it's all a bit of a toss up. Play the long game, play it smart, get guys out there who are looking good and rolling into the season well without any hitches, and really play what's natural and how it's naturally unfolding, I should say, which
Yeah. And
I really like the way Mendoza goes about that.
you know what? I do too. Yeah, it doesn't sound sexy on paper, right? But Senga missed all of last year outside of, that quick playoff stint. So like it makes sense to let him hang back and get an additional start. And Peterson, yeah, he was healthy last year. He had a solid season, but he's still coming off that hip surgery, a year and a half, 2 years ago. So I like it. I'm cool with it. I don't really care if we're 0-3 to start the season. We know what happened in 2000, right? We talked about that on the last pod. We made the World Series when we started off slow then. There's plenty of slow starts that have happened in Mets history where they've still had a good season, but it's interesting. So we'll
Absolutely.
we'll keep an eye on that.
I would
And
actually argue if you have a hot
yeah,
start, then you're going to have a bad season. If you start slow, then you might actually do well because
well,
that is your history. So
yeah,
that's
that's
how I
so
would look
true.
at it.
I remember a couple of 12-3 or 14-3 starts where they didn't even make the playoffs. So
Oh yeah, those are the September collapses of '07 and other
oh, in
years.
the House of Horrors in Atlanta. All right, we're not going down that road just yet, Ed. But lastly, the last bit of Camp Buzz before we really get into the 2025 season is Edwin Diaz. Can he return to his dominant 2022
Ooh,
self? So in 2022, Ed, he hit over 100 miles per hour on his fastball 100 plus times that season, right? He was
jeez.
almost unhittable. I mean, he was unreal. He really has a two pitch mix in his fastball and slider. So that fastball has to be moving and grooving. But people are worried, and rightfully so. I'm worried. His velo is definitely down this spring. He's only averaging around a 95.7 mile per hour fastball, giving up a lot of hard contact. And usually, when you drop the velo on your fastball, it's more of a control thing. But he's still erratic, and his control's all over the place. His whip is like a 2.4. So if we're
Oof.
going anywhere this season, we need an anchor, we need Diaz, and we need a reliable closer back. I know I talked about it where AJ Minter is kind of a good um, safety net. God forbid Edwin struggles. You could always kind of interchange the two, but you don't want to have to do that. You want Minter to be your awesome set of man to your
Right.
anchor and shut down closer. So sound the trumpets, Ed. We're praying.
Yeah,
It's
you
pretty good.
definitely don't. I got a friend who can do a real good mouth trumpet. We'll get him on sometime. But
Please.
no, yeah, you don't want to start the season with AJ Minter having to be your primary option, right?
Yeah.
That is going to make you think that way until Edwin smooths things out. I don't know if he's working on other pitches or if he's just working on different mechanics. I
Probably
haven't heard a
mechanics.
ton
Yeah.
about it, but I try not to worry about anything like that in spring training for any pitcher. But yeah, if he's touching 99, 100 fluidly and consistently for the last 3 years, and obviously barring injury, it does seem to be an odd drop off. So you really hope there's nothing going on in the elbow or anything in the arm.
Yeah, well, to that point, I think that's the biggest concern is like there was an injury mixed in, right? Because of what happened in the World Baseball Classic. So that's kind of where people's mind goes like, what did that really do to him? But again, time will tell. He might come out on opening day. Obviously it's not really warm this early in the
Right.
season, especially in New York. Um,
Right.
but we'll see. Maybe he's dialing up 97, 98 in April. I'm happy with that because then come August, he'll probably be hitting that 99 mark. So
Yeah, no matter what, proceed with caution. And
yeah,
to your point, when you're coming back from a lower body injury, pitchers will overcompensate with their upper body, with their arm. So you wonder if that just led to a long term effect or if it's just longer road working back to, his true self. So
yeah, yeah.
try
But
not
to
to
your point,
panic.
I'm I'm trying not to hit the panic button yet, but I guess we'll see. I mean, he always gives us a heart attack regardless if he's healthy or not. So I'm ready to just basically freak out every time he gets on the mound. But that's what we've come to know and love with Edwin Diaz. So Ed, I will pass the ball to you and let you talk Yankees because I guess there's some Yankee listeners on the pod who probably want to hear
Yeah, I guess they might. I don't know.
it.
Yankee camp's been an interesting one this year because we've obviously had injuries to the rotation, but also great three mentions, by the way. Going to give you a little shout out on
I
that.
appreciate you.
Good things to look out for, and yeah, and again, if you got no other position battles to stress out, that means your team is in some pretty good shape. So that leads me to the Yankees, who I believe also don't have a ton of position battles left. I think we've talked enough about the pitching staff, and now it seems that Clark Schmidt is going to start the season on the IL,
Mm.
coming back from that shoulder injury.
So
So
it's not
now,
as back anymore, Ed. Sorry, not to cut you off, but it's
no, now
different.
they're saying it's or a lat or just building the shoulder strength back up for pitching. So it might have been the back led to the shoulder being a little weaker,
Yep.
you know? So it's just building up. It doesn't seem like anything in particular or anything acute. It just seems like more of a, okay, this injury or this is a slower build up because you had that injury. Make sense?
Got it. Yeah.
Um, so we'll see what that means. Early on, you can usually get away with four pitchers. You don't really need to have five right off the bat because of all the built-in off days for rain and whatever happens with opening day and opening week. So often you'll see teams be fine with four pitchers. That said, we are filling out the rotation still, and those pitching position battles are coming to a quick wind down. So we talked about Alan Winans as being an option who had been with the Braves in previous years, was with the Yankees earlier this, obviously in spring training, and had led to a pretty good spring up until his last couple outings, where he had, I believe, back-to-back four-run outings. So he had been looking like a long relief guy, possible rotation piece. But he's been optioned down, so he'll stick with the Yankees and possibly come up throughout the season. Um, and that said, that leaves two people really on my radar for taking these last two spots. And it's not going to be anything new, but maybe interesting in terms of the way their recent performances have gone. Will Warren, we've talked about
Mm.
plenty,
Yep.
was lighting it up in his first four spring starts. However, in his last two, he's been a little less effective. So you might have a little concern as a Yankee fan, but it could also just be the fact that he's, you know, trying more things and it's another time around against another opponent that has seen him before. However, his last two outings, 3 earned runs in 4 innings pitched against Tampa Bay, division rival. Don't love that. And then 4 earned runs yesterday against Baltimore in 3 and 2/3 innings. So 2 home runs in that outing as well, which he had not been giving up prior to that. Again, could just be a bad start. You don't always have it. Who knows? But you don't love to see those numbers as you're winding down, especially when he had come into everything, or into those two starts, I should say, with a minuscule what was it, 1.54 ERA. So he's
Real
ballooned up to 5 point, oh, sorry, 4.19 ERA.
sorry, I was just gonna add. I mean, I wouldn't stress too much about that, worry too much. I feel like to your point earlier, like a lot of these guys who might have started off strong in the spring, really trying to refine their mechanics and work on their craft on the pitches. A lot of times towards the end of spring training, I feel like they really tend to mess with things in terms of mechanics because it's getting so close to the regular season. So
Right,
sometimes it comes with
finalizing what works. Yep.
exactly comes with hiccups. So I don't know. I wouldn't lean too much into that. I think he's still promising.
Absolutely. And, again, he had a 10 ERA in a few a few appearances last year. So you just hope that he's not getting any yips about being at the major league level. I
Oh,
doubt it.
I know all about the yips.
Don't we all?
Yeah.
I still can't throw it back to the pitcher. But that leads me to the next guy who's probably got a spot, and the guy that I think most people didn't really have on their radar as getting a rotation spot. But selfishly, I've wanted to see him in a Yankee uniform for years. Saw him in a Mets uniform for a couple. Uh, Battled cancer and beat it. Battled injuries, has come back on the other side better than ever. Carlos Carrasco.
Cookie.
Love the story for Cookie. He's dipped into the cookie jar and found something from the jar of youth, we'll call it, because he's got 16 innings under his belt in 4 or 5 starts, I believe, with a 1.69 ERA, 15 strikeouts in those 16 innings, only 3 earned runs, 7 walks, and has a .938 WHIP in all those appearances, and had a great start the other day as well. So he's looking like a lock for, I believe, I'd give him the fourth spot at this point just for the veteran leadership. And what does 4 or 5 mean at this point anyway? I just love the idea of Carrasco getting that spot. And it doesn't look like there are many other options for taking that fifth, or replacing Clark Schmidt at the moment. So these are your two guys who you're looking at. And I think Winans might be an easy call up if they really need him, because he's an easy, again, waiver claim drop type piece that Yankees like to have for flexibility in that rotation. It's just kind of something they've done year in, year out, and gives them the opportunity to keep that rotation running smoothly. So, not a lot of news in that respect, but two
Well,
guys that I think have essentially solidified those spots.
yeah, I was gonna add it. I mean, that's similar to you and Clay Holmes. Like that's a guy I'll be rooting for as a Mets fan is Cookie. I mean, I always loved his story. I mean, he's a cancer survivor. He was solid in his couple of seasons with the Mets. There were obviously some dark days towards the back end of his Mets tenure, but at the same time, Um, I'm just happy he landed somewhere and he actually has a chance to do some damage still at the big league level. I really didn't think he was going to end up in a starting rotation to start 2025. But that's why baseball's unpredictable, and I love it.
Absolutely. I feel like he was largely written off for the last few years. And again, I thought he was, for the most part, he just reminds me of the stalwart pitcher in Cleveland, right? They had
Yeah,
Kluber, they had Bieber, they had all these other guys who were sexy, but he was the guy that held that rotation together, in their good run in the mid 2010s, late 2010s. So that said, Cookie, love the idea of him being here. Soft contact, ground ball guy. Seems like he's talked about always wanting to be a Yankee. Sure, everybody says that when you're talking to your,
I guess.
their PR people. So, well, when you play cross town and see how terrible that dump is. Um,
Ooh, get your milk ready, Cookie. That's all I'm
so,
saying.
well, as long as your season, whatever. I was gonna do a milk pun on my own word. Worried about it. Um, speaking of milk, anybody got rice? Ben Rice,
What?
maybe. I don't know. He's just so white, but I love him. Ben Rice is another story. Dom Smith was granted his release from his minor league deal today. He wanted to opt out after a really strong spring. It shocked a lot of people. Former Met, obviously,
Hmm.
was really looking forward to our Smith or Soto blind stats comparison
That would
segment.
have been very easy, but yes, that would have been cool.
Hey, number 20. Hey, yeah, it would have been really easy. Dom Smith would have been the runaway MVP.
Oh yeah.
I just love that Dom Smith also wore number 22, replacing Soto in the Bronx. I just thought that would have been a really cool story. But for his numbers, as good as they looked, there were some, underlying things that weren't as great. He had a 297 batting average, 3 home runs, 12 RBIs. So really hit, with great power. However, no walks and 8 strikeouts. So struck out a little bit too much. It was a little bit too much boomer bust and not getting on base alternatively in the meantime. So Dom has a lot to offer to a major league team. Still plays really strong defense at first. Realizing that the Yankees have the logjam with Bellinger and Goldschmidt, and now Ben Rice, who I just mentioned as being a backup first baseman. It just didn't seem that it was in the cards for Dom Smith. Ben Rice is also younger, plays bats lefty as well, and has 5 home runs and has been tearing the cover off the ball in the last few games. So, sorry, 5 home runs in spring training and has been heating up lately. So, makes me wonder if Ben Rice was always locked for that job or if Dom Smith maybe had a slim chance if Ben Rice didn't look good at all. But here we are. Dom is out. Ben looks like
Hmm.
he will be getting the opening day DH slot. And again, he's just got the versatility that we need in terms of first base. He can play catcher. He can be an outfielder. He's got a lot of ability to play all over the field.
And I had two quick things to add. I mean, obviously, pour one out for our boy Dom Smith. I love Dom when he was a Met. He's just a great ball player, great person, great clubhouse guy. But yeah, everyone knows that story. He came in highly touted prospect. Alonso came in out of nowhere and had that insane historical rookie season, and Dom fell to the wayside. But regardless, I think to your point, Ben Rice and Beatty are two guys that we're going to keep a close eye on because they're both similar in age and kind of at that make or break moment of their career where it's like, are you going to have a solidified starting job in New York or are you not going to be able to handle not only New York, but the big leagues? So let's see what they could do.
Right, and absolutely, dude. And I think Yankee fans are looking forward to Ben Rice working out. He grew up, fun story, grew up a Yankee fan in Massachusetts among all the Red Sox fans you can imagine. Even a picture of him dressed as a Yankee player for Halloween amongst all of his Red Sox friends. So nice story in that respect. And he did come up last year and hit 3 home runs in a game against those Red Sox. So there's a lot of fun already being generated by the story that is Ben Rice. And again, homegrown talent as you said, similar age, 26 years old. Who's he going to be? And now finally growing into the person or the player that we think he can be, the power, just the athleticism. So looks like a possibly very strong or a bright future for Ben Rice. But again, like Dom Smith, one of baseball's good guys. But good to see Beatty and Ben doing their jobs.
Yeah, I'll let you continue real quick for the rest of your storylines, but I made a note here that we're going to discuss after the first week Beatty versus Rice. Let's see where the stats are at.
Woohoo! I like
I
that.
like it, right?
Beatty v. Ben. We're just going to create a city rivalry they were not expecting.
Beatty's Rice.
Uncle Beatty's Rice.
Uncle Beatty's Rice.
We'll see who gets the cover of Rice Weekly. um, no, I love that. Or speaking of milk, Ben and Beatty. No, so There it is. There's that battle. Looks like Ben's going to have some options, but I love that. And then I guess to round it out would be just middle infield sort of battles that, um, unfortunately, minor league options, are kind of limiting the opportunity for other players. So let me get into that a little bit more. We talked about Oswald Peraza. We've talked about Oswaldo Cabrera. We've talked about Yorbit Vivas. We've talked about Alexander Vargas. We've talked about George Lombard. So we've got a lot of infield prospects that the Yankees have coming up. But one guy that is just been sent down is Yorbit Vivas, who got 10 games in this year, had an injury shortened season last season. Again, this is the guy we traded for Trey Sweeney. Trey Sweeney's now with the Tigers, who will probably man in middle infield spot with Gleyber Torres, just to bring that back to episode one. Yorbit Vivas had 10 games in spring and hit 400 in those games. Again, after an injury shortened season last year, it's nice to see him get back on track. Had two doubles, three RBIs, a stolen base. So he did his job. He didn't hit with a ton of power in those 10 games and 25 at bats. However, he did enough to show and prove himself as a pesky hitter in the middle infield that the Yankees are really looking to cultivate. Unfortunately, he was sent down because they were a little reckless with his service time last year, bringing him up for an Orioles series that he never played in. So, and then also Oswald Peraza, who's having a terrible spring training and has been given every option or opportunity to prove himself, is hitting a robust 190 with one extra base hit in 17 games. However, he is out of options, and if they send him down, they cannot. They will have to release him, leave him up into waivers, and somebody can just pick him up, and we would be without a player that we believed in for so long. So it's unfortunate, but it looks like a lot of guys are not going to have a chance because Peraza is going to give or be given at least the opportunity to start the season, which I believe he should. However, I really want to see Vivas get a chance, and again, he's got some options, so we'll see how he does at AAA in the meantime.
I was going to say it to that point. I mean, again, like we mentioned earlier, the silver lining here, spring numbers don't mean anything or for potentially foreshadow anything. Lindor also is having a horrible spring, which we've come to know and love. And a lot of guys are just trying to get their feet wet. So again, if Peraza, right? I know you got Oswaldo and Oswaldo. I always mix those two up.
Yeah, Peraza's Oswald. Yep, you got it.
Yeah, but thank you. But yeah, if he can't figure it out, again, to your point, maybe there's a way to make it work with Vivas, and maybe it'll be the end of Peraza's time there in the Bronx.
And maybe they have other deals they want to make. Maybe there's a team
Yeah.
that likes what they see from him, in terms of the defensive ability, because he's got that and he's definitely got pop in the minor league level and has shown that at the majors. I just think he's got to get on track. So we'll see what their plans are for him. But there's also one final guy that just quick note I want to make. And I thought maybe he would be a middle infield option, but he's an outfielder. So kind of makes it a moot point. But there's a guy named, I just want to give him straight shout out, Ismael Munguia. He's a Nicaraguan born player. The Giants had him. I think they have like a Nicaraguan powerhouse somewhere or academy because we got Loaisaga from them.
Hmm.
Um, he's also Nicaraguan. They have a few players that have come through that country, so they must have great scouting down there, is what I'm trying to say. Because Mungia, bring it back, was a waiver claim from the Giants. He's hitting 412 in spring. 15 games with a double, two triples, three stolen bases, and 4 runs scored. Low strikeout numbers, high average hitter with a good on base ability. The only problem is he's not a middle infielder. We are stacked in the outfield. I don't know that there's any room. Trent Grisham's doing well in spring. Dominguez is great in spring so far. Judge, Bellinger. So I just want to highlight this Munguia kid because he just seems like the kind of contact, on base, low strikeout kind of player the Yankees could use. And I wonder if he's a sneaky candidate because he hasn't been set
Yeah.
down yet.
Maybe we'll see him at a later date, Ed. But I will say once again, for the people in the back who didn't hear us, it's spring training, the games don't matter and the points don't count.
Ain't that the truth? And they're called runs for anyone else
No,
who's curious. Just let you
Ed, I know that. You don't get the reference of whose line is it
know. No, I
anyway?
know. I'm just messing with
Yeah,
you.
you son of a.
I'm so glad you used that though.
If
We
anyone
need to
says
carry
points
me.
for baseball, oh my god, forget about it. I'm done with them.
Trish will do that sometimes, but
Yeah, so will my wife. So, but we love them. We love them.
we give them a pass.
Yeah, they get a pass.
That's enough from me. I think we've talked way too much about this camp battle because I just can't stop nerding out. But Alec, I think you have some more to tell us about a calm before the storm.
I do. The calm before the storm. It is a preview of early matchups. So, Ed, I know People are waiting. We were going to do this on the last episode, but those that have come to know and love the pod know we like to talk. So we had to push this one back, but we want to give you guys a quick preview of early matchups and basically highlight who has a tougher first stretch, looking at the first three matchups of the season, and then who will have a better record after those first three matchups, and then discuss kind of the challenges and opportunities that come with them, and our early record prediction after those first three series, and who we think is going to have the slight edge. And this will be a good segue into episode next week, which will be our opening day preview episode for any of those looking to tune into that ahead of opening day next Thursday, where we're going to be letting you guys know kind of our overarching 2025 predictions. So definitely tune in there. With that, Ed, I know I started off the last segment, so I'm down to pass it your way to give you your calm before the storm, preview those matchups.
All right, I dig it. Well, then I'm going to work on brevity here because I think the simple theme to make about the Yankees in this first few matchups is it might not look like the most daunting schedule, but I will warn all Yankee fans and anybody else in baseball that it is probably one of the peskier schedules in terms of underrated ability. So I'll just say this quickly: Brewers at home, Diamondbacks at home is how we start it. Then we go to the road to play the Pirates for three and the Tigers for three. So it sounds like in years past, kind of a cakewalk, right? Brewers, Diamondbacks, Pirates, and Tigers can't be so bad. Oh
Mm.
my. But I think the way we've seen everything shake out, last year the Tigers shocked everyone, made it to the playoffs, made it to the game five of the ALDS, gave Cleveland a true run for their money. Probably showed up a year sooner than anybody anticipated them and maybe 2 years ahead of schedule. So they've got really talented hitters. They've got very athletic players all around the diamond. Great pitching. AJ Hinch is obviously a veteran manager of championship teams, so they have strong leadership there. I have other feelings on AJ Hinch and his
Yeah,
leadership. However,
we all do.
shouldn't be in the game. However, I think the Tigers are going to be, starting backwards, a tough game, especially on the road. Glaber, our old friend, will be there. And again, just pesky team. Going back to the Pirates, the series before that, they have pitching coming out of their ears at this juncture. Young, talented pitching, obviously led by Paul Skeens. And I think they also have a lineup that's going to shock people in terms of their athleticism, their competitiveness. So that's not a cakewalk by any stretch, especially in Pittsburgh at that time of year. Frigid. Not a fun place to be,
Yep.
especially if you got guys who don't play well in the cold. And then coming back to just our home games, which are the first two, Diamondbacks are obviously NL champions from 2 years ago. What happened last year? Some fall off, but they still have the team at their core that can get them back to that level. And what did they do? Oh, yeah, signed Corbin Burns. So their pitching has only gotten better, which was already a strength. They traded for Josh Naylor in the offseason, lost Christian Walker, but Naylor's clearly a very good replacement, as Yankee fans know, rocking the baby out
Yep.
there. So, again, Diamondbacks are not a cakewalk. Corbin Carroll can do all kinds of things. Ketel Marte is an NL MVP favorite right now. You can't really sleep on them whatsoever. And then the Brewers, we all know my feelings on the Brewers. I think they're one of the best run teams in baseball and can beat anybody any given time, except for when Pete Alonso wants to kill their all-time legendary
I'll
broadcaster.
never forget, baby.
Never forgive and never forget. So yeah, I don't think anything about our start is going to be easy. I think we're gonna still escape that with a better record than not. Um, Also, saying this quickly, the Brewers, we're gonna face some familiar faces right away with Nestor, right there, and Caleb Durbin, who will probably be their opening day second baseman. But we'll see how the Nestor thing goes with Nestor and Williams facing their former teams. Um, and then, yeah, again, just wrapping that all up with, do you need a record from me, or
No,
I guess
no. I'll kind of give you my outlook similar to what you did on your first stretch, and then we could both kind of switch those records off and see where we net out. But Ed, I will say once again, you didn't follow the rules. I think you gave me four matchups first three. But that's
shit.
okay. So while I'm talking, if you want to refine your record to
Well, I
the
got
three,
your yeah. Okay, three. Okay, I got that. Yeah, that's fine. That works for me. So
okay,
so don't worry about the Tigers. We'll just
not
go
yet at least.
Brewers, Diamondbacks at home, and then Pirates on the road for three. So that'll be after. Yeah.
Exactly. And I was going to say, just before I get into the Mets, I did think this was something we could probably agree on. Because I also feel like the Yankees do have a tougher first three matchups and the Mets. Again, I was gonna say sure they open up at home, but again they open up against two, maybe three playoff caliber teams in the Brewers, Diamondbacks, and Pirates. Obviously, you just went over the Diamondbacks lineup. We know it's not only stacked with young talent, but also the rotation was scary to begin with, and now it's even scarier with the addition of Corbin Burns. Burns and Gallen at the top of the rotation is scary, and then you got a guy like Brandon.
Fat,
Here, thank you. You
fat.
know my
Yeah, I know.
fat, fat, fat,
I don't want to call
something
him
like
fat.
that.
It's fat with a P. I know that. A
It's a
PF.
silent. It's a silent. It's a silent. What is it? A silent P. A
A
silent
silent
P.
P. Well, it's like fat, but with a PH, but it's fat with a
Yeah,
PF. I
it's
like that.
stylish, I guess. But yeah, regardless, that is a deep rotation. Honestly, I'm scared of them in the NL, and it's a team that maybe could give the Dodgers some trouble. Along with the Padres, we're hoping. I mean, anyone's hoping someone just trumps the Dodgers, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
That division is stacked just as yours is,
And
and
just as yours is.
hey, the beasts of the East.
Oh yeah, but to that point, I was gonna say the Pirates lineup isn't that scary. Yes, it's got some strength. You look right at O'Neill Cruz being a guy who has like one of the highest hard hit ball rates in the MLB, but it's also filled with veterans who honestly are potentially past their prime. I was gonna say this is a funny one. Ex Met DJ Stewart. He's actually going to be the starting first baseman, I think,
Oh
because Spencer
no.
Horwitz is hurt.
Jeez. Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
Speaking of where Dom can end up, that's a good spot.
that's a good point. DJ and Dom.
I like that.
You never know. But again, like Horowitz being hurt and seeing DJ Stewart out there, it just doesn't look good on your lineup card. And we know that as Mets fans. So that's all we really need to say. But again, the rotation's solid with the top end young studs and Skeens and a guy like Jared Jones. So who knows? But yeah.
Well, and not to interrupt you
Yeah, please.
quickly, Horowitz, I don't know if you know this, but his uncle is the longtime PR director for the Mets, Jay Horowitz.
Yes, yes, you actually did talk to me about that offline, and we maybe we'll get some connections to get some
Hey,
guys on this
gotta
pod one
figure
day.
that
You never
out.
know.
So tie that all together, and then as far as the Pirates, also they got Brian Reynolds, who's not far removed
Yeah,
from
he's
a
a stud.
really great season, who the Yankees wanted for a bit. Cabrian Hayes is a Gold Glove defenseman who's got some pop and has
Hasn't proven
ability
it
to make.
offensively though.
Has not, but you never know when these guys are going to turn the corner. So I'm just saying they're frisky. They're
They are
frisky.
frisky. They're not a cakewalk. You're right about that. And hey, I'm in agreement with you, right? I do think the Yankees do have the farter,
Farter.
the harder. I'm stuck
Joey
on
Gallo,
fat.
we're going to need you, buddy. We're going to need you.
The Yankees do have the tougher first stretch. I'm looking at the first three series, but I will say, um,
Not a cakewalk, but it's not a plank walk.
exactly. And just to get into the Mets a little bit, I know we open up the road, against the Astros. They are solid teams in terms of lineup depth. I can't talk tonight. We know they lost Bregman, but they obviously ordered Isaac Paredes and Christian Walker to that lineup. But they do have some question marks this year in not only the rotation but also the bullpen. Um, Obviously, the back end of the bullpen is pretty stacked with Hader and Abreu. But if you have a lead late, you should be okay. But again, who knows with Diaz nowadays, per my previous note. But I do think we could get after it in Houston to start the year. And
Well,
obviously,
they
the
have so many things that have changed in the offseason, right? And that's going to take time
so
to
many.
gel when you have
Exactly.
that many out exports and imports.
Yeah, and you look at that rotation, like Frember Valdez, of course, is reliable. But then guys like Hunter Brown, Ronald Blanco, Spencer Arrighetti, like these are all guys who are kind of unproven and you don't know what you're going to get. I know Christian Javier is on the IL right now, so we'll see. But I think, they're not as strong in past Astros teams as we kind of know, especially they're not cheating anymore, so it should be easier. Um,
And
then,
Altuve is now in left field, so all you got to do is just put it right over his head, and you'll have a triple in no time.
yeah, he can't play the left field for shit. We saw that in spring. But yeah, then the next series obviously is why I think the Mets have an easier first stretch is the Marlins, which should be a cakewalk, but a big emphasis, Ed, on should, because and Mets fans definitely know, this is a divisional matchup, which obviously we know could always go either way. But against Miami, for whatever reason, the Marlins have always played the Mets tough, as we know. Don't remind me of 2007. I just can't take it anymore. I was at that last game when Tom Glavine blew it. Whatever. That's another story for
Oh
another day.
no, I'm so
But yeah,
you deserve
don't.
it.
I'm not even letting you chime in there because I don't want to talk about '07. But I do think the Mets flip the script this season and dominate the Marlins. Who are still kind of in complete rebuild mode. Just of course you have to watch out for Sandy on the mound. Because he's still, he's looking healthy. He's throwing 100 in spring, and he's gonna be trade bait, so he's gonna be playing his heart out. So hopefully we maybe skip him. I didn't really look up how things shake out just yet with off days and whatnot, so I'll check that out for the next pod. But either way, we should at least take 2 out of 3 if he is pitching. And then lastly, the Blue Jays at home for the home opener at Citi Field that I will be in attendance for game 2, and I can't wait. Um, but yeah, I think they're more dangerous and flying under the radar because of how stacked your division is, right? Uh, they have a deep lineup and they've added Santander and ex Met Andres Jimenez, who we know is a stud. And also, they have a young stud and an ex Ray that not many people know about or talk about, but I always liked him for whatever reason. It's Joey Loperfido. I think he's going to surprise
Mm.
many. And mark it down now, Ed. He's going to be a sleeper pick to have a strong underdog season and really
Ooh.
help lengthen that Rays lineup. So I guess we'll see. But
All right.
on the second side of the coin, there,
That Jays lineup.
the who?
That Jays lineup. No, you're saying is never
No,
mind.
it's
Keep going.
no, yeah, no. The Jays lineup is deep and strong, especially with obviously you add alongside those guys, you have Bichette and you have Vladdy Jr., mind you. So they're deep, but the rotation definitely has question marks with old man Scherzer and Bassett, also ex Mets. So I think they should win that series at home. The rotation just isn't that deep. Jose Barrios is a workhorse, but he's also kind of hit or miss, and he's not super consistent. So I guess we'll see.
Yeah, no, I like that breakdown. It feels like you got a grab bag of teams who are going to struggle out of the gate, and the way I look at it is teams are going to struggle out of the gate to figure out their identities.
Yeah.
I think the Blue Jays have tried to focus on a little more defense this year. I don't think they improved a ton outside of what their major issues already were. They have a pretty strong bullpen. They got a lot of good pieces in that, but I do feel like they're a team that often disappoints even when they have a ton of talent. But again, when you improve your defense and maybe some things progress to the mean instead of regressing as they
Mm,
did maybe last year, I think things can work out. I do think their manager is probably going to get in the way of them having any
I
real
agree with
success.
that.
But again, I do think you guys have a better shot at a stronger record. That said, you want to give me what you think your record will be after nine?
Yeah, I'll give you my little rundown here. So I'm going to give you on who I think will have the better record and then what I think it will be in my closing statement, and I'll pass it back your way. But the one thing I was going to say before I dove into that real quick is to your point. I know I mentioned, how the Yankees maybe are facing 2 out of 3 potential playoff caliber teams, but honestly, the Mets are too in the Blue Jays and the Astros, but I just think they're just not as strong as say the Brewers or the Diamondbacks. So I guess we'll see. Time will tell. But
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and again, it's early season, so they all need time to gel. So that idea that I just gave is complete bunk. It could go anyway, but please
all
continue.
right. So who will have the better record after the first 3 series of the season? I'm going to say the Mets, not because I'm being biased here, but just
You
because
better
of
have a better record.
just exactly we better and because of the teams we face and the way we stack up against them on paper, and simply because of all the injuries the Yankees are currently dealing with, I think just outweighs the injuries the Mets are facing, and I think we have a little more depth than the Yankees do in the spots where we are dealing with those injuries. So, Ed, my record and my prediction for the Mets, we're going to go 6-3 out of the gate, winning all 3 series to start the season. No,
So
no,
safe.
no sweeps based on the matchups, right?
Okay.
Um,
So one loss per series is the way you're breaking it down.
essentially one loss per series. And if Sandy isn't pitching, it's just the Marlins, it's just the division rivals are always a thorn in our side. That's why I'm giving them one. I'm being generous. I'm trying to appease the fans, but the biggest deciding factor, honestly, in all of this is the lack of the strength. I think in the Astros, Marlins, and Blue Jays starting rotations, they're not top 10 or top 15 in baseball. And also, you're looking at that rotational depth versus the depth and strength of the Mets overall lineup, as we know, which is much stronger this year. But baseball, Ed, it's unpredictable, and that's why I love it so much. But also, that's why it hurts so much. But let's see. Let's see if it holds up.
No, I like that. And it's basically the softest answer you could have provided for that, but I'll accept it. Um,
Soft and safe.
exactly. Softer than a baby's bottom. But I think that's why I did go the first 4 series and I didn't follow the rules because I
Mm.
think I was thinking, oh, how do I, create a real separator or differentiator here? Because your next series after those first three is against the Marlins at home.
Yeah, sweet.
Ours is Tigers on the road. So it's like, yeah, after 12, I think you definitely have the better record. After nine, I can see us both with a 6-3 record. So
Ooh, is
that's
that where you're going? Six and
that's
three?
so I had two. I had 5-4 or 6-3. I'm going 5-4 to be. I'm gonna go with 5-4 because I know my team. I know they don't
Ooh,
always, you know, set the world on fire in that first week or two. They usually take a second to get everybody going. Judge is still not quite right at the plate right now, so he might take a while to get going. And you never know how spring training, heat is going to carry over anyway. So, or lack thereof. So
that's
Judge might
fair.
be on fire and everybody else might stink. So I'm going to go with 5-4 just to say because I believe our quality of opposition is much better than yours, and I just want to. God, but I can't have a worse record than you.
No,
This is
you can,
difficult. I
because then I
hate
could
this.
brag about it for at least a little bit.
All right, fine. I'll make for good podcasting, but I'm gonna say 6-3 is very achievable. But I'm gonna say 5-4 more than likely because we're gonna work out some kinks.
Well, Ed, if we're coming here to record, right, and we're 9, 10 games into the season, and we're 6-3 on each side, I think we'll be pretty pleased with that start because again, it's not a crazy, abnormal, abnormally fast start, mind you, and we're not getting off to an 0-7 a record, right, or something like that.
Well,
So
we won't be 162-0, which is a damn shame.
yeah, no one is, and no one will be, and if they are, that's crazy. So I guess we'll see. Um,
Then we just give up and call it a day.
but Ed, I love this. I think this was a really cool idea and a very micro look into our predictions. And then again, next week, guys, we're going to tie it in and do a macro view on our overall 2025 predictions and opening day preview. But for the time being, Ed, we got something fun slated for segment 3. Ready for this?
Oh yeah, but all the good stuff next week. I'm excited for all those breakdowns, but even
Yeah.
more excited for this little bit of fun we're about to have.
Yeah, it's a little fun. This is a little game show edition here on the Big Apple Battle. Guess that Met or that Yankee. So, Ed, I'm going to give you a random Yankee season, a player's stat line, and you have 3 guesses to get that player right. And then you kind of do the same for me for the Mets. If you lose, I didn't have time to think of a punishment, so you lose.
Sounds good. We'll let our listeners come up with a valid punishment for this. How's that sound?
That sounds good to me. If anyone actually
How
jumps
about
on,
How about
yeah.
if I win? Sorry, no, I just now it's coming to me. How about
What
if
do you
I
got?
win? You got to wear a Yankee jersey. I have a Juan Soto
Don't
basketball jersey. You have to wear that to your opening day. You can't wear any sleeves.
to
Sleeveless out in
watch.
back.
Wait, to the game I go to.
Yeah,
That
to what
that's
game two?
that's
Game two.
that's a crazy punishment to wear
I'm
to City Field.
I'm saying it's a Soto jersey. It's sleeveless Al. We're gonna make an appearance.
And maybe I'll bring it and like just burn it in front of everyone.
Oh, that's terrible. You're just a not good person. It's a Dom. I mean, now it's a Dom Smith basketball jersey.
There you go. You
Why
got
can't
Dom Smith basketball jersey,
I'm just saying,
minor
I
league
like
jersey.
it. We'll put that up to a vote. I think the fans will like it.
All right, fine. Then if I win, I have a Michael Conforto classic Mets jersey that you have to go wear to a Mets and Yankees Subway Series game and act like you're a
Oh,
Mets fan.
that
How about
feels
that?
that feels more brutal. That's
That
so
is
much
brutal.
more brutal. That's so much more brutal.
Well,
You
you know
have to
what?
give
How
me
about
like a
this?
weird obscure matchup at least.
Well, you hurt me. I'm gonna hurt you. But you know what? How about we don't hurt each other at all right now, and we take some time. We're gonna be doing game shows throughout. We're gonna get some
Sounds good.
punishments going, but for this one, maybe it's a trial run,
Yeah, I like it. That's okay.
just to be safe because I feel like I might lose. So I'm
All right.
being
Well, I'm
I'm
keeping that
being
one in.
safe again.
I'm keeping that one in the back pocket.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. Me too. I got my Conforto jersey ready to go. But Ed, you
All
ready for
right,
this?
make it happen.
All right. So the year was 2013. This guy hit
It's a
262.
shit season. God damn. All right.
Yeah, exactly, Mister Edmanac over here. I'm trying to
Yeah, I
stump
don't
you.
know. Now I'm worried. All right.
It was 2013. They hit 262 with a 297 on base percentage, a 639 OPS, a minuscule 7 home runs, 35 RBIs, 26 walks, 63 strikeouts, and 20 stolen bases. And I guess I'll give you the games played. I feel like that always helps as well. And they played 150 games.
Wow, they played a full season.
And that's the numbers. Yeah,
Jeez.
yeah, 3 guesses. The clock starts now.
Okay, so 150 games, 20 stolen bases. That's the big one. What was the WAR?
Oh, sorry. I completely did not forgot to give you the
No, it's all
war.
good.
This is a part of my game show. Bear with me. I gotta pull that up real quick. But while I'm doing that, you could do some guesses.
Yes.
Hold up. Probably wasn't good considering that stat line.
Oh, I'm trying to. So
All right, I got it
Brett
here.
Gardner comes to mind, but I feel like that's too easy.
And it was a 1.1.
There's a 1.1 WAR.
Yep.
Okay, so that's not that effective.
No, it's basically just null.
Yeah, 20 stolen bases. That's the oh,
You got
actually,
I
I might have it. Is
remember
this
you get 3 guesses, so
is this a Hall of Famer?
this isn't 20 questions.
Okay, fuck.
I mean,
No,
I
no,
can't.
no, no,
I mean,
don't tell me.
if I
Don't tell
answered
me.
that, it'll be too
I already
easy.
know it's Ichiro. It's Ichiro.
It's Ichiro. That was too easy. God damn it.
I don't
Good
know why.
guess.
I was like, why is this? I don't know.
I mean, you
It
know
was the
what?
20 stolen bases, and I was like, who puts up 7 home runs with 20 stolen bases? Like, it felt like an end of the line kind of career number,
Well,
you
and
know?
they also played 100, like a full season, and did that
Right.
too.
Yeah. Well, the
So
150. So that's where I was like, Brett Gardner. I thought to myself, there's no way he was that bad by then, if that makes sense. That's like Brett Gardner 3 years ago.
yeah, I was gonna give him 2014, but basically the same stat line, just worse. So
No, 2013 was a good team to pick though, because that had like Vernon Wells on it. We talked
yeah,
about it, right?
I was taking
Jason
a look.
Nix, Travis Hafner. Gross.
Damn, so you guessed it in one try. So I have to. I get. I know I get three guesses, but I have to do it in one try to match you. So all right, guess we'll
All
see.
right. Well, you know what? This is going to prove to be a harder game than it's going to be an easier verifiable game when we're also live on video, where people don't
Yes,
believe that we're cheating this game
I'm not
somehow.
cheating. My hands are behind my back.
I know, same, but I just needed to make that point. All right. So, without further ado, I appreciate that. Thank you for making me look good, sir.
Of
I
course.
might have not done you as good a favor, but we'll see. We'll see.
Okay.
So here we go. 2016 is the year.
Mm,
So right after your World Series appearance.
yep.
282 batting average, 347 on base, 823 OPS. Very respectable numbers. 23 home runs, 55 ribbies. Kind of low on the ribbies for the home run count. 57 runs scored, 3 stolen bases, 9 doubles, triple, 2.3 WAR.
Okay, so this is a relatively big guy, not a fast guy. I know that team. I know their roster. I have three guesses. I might just do an outlandish guess out of the gate. I don't even know
That's
if they
fine.
played for the Yankees, but Lucas Duda.
No.
that
That was a good guess.
was that was worth a shot. I
That
feel
was a
like,
good guess.
but
I like that. I like
so,
that.
so give me how many games? I don't know if I
Oh,
missed that.
it was 113 that year. So it's a full season technically, and I might have been a little cheap on you because I should have gone a little higher, but I felt for the numbers he put up, it was a reasonable amount.
Wait,
And he
how many
played
games?
a half
100,
season. This was 113 in 2016.
dude.
And then
113 games.
he played another half season with you right after that. So he's not like a short, he was there. He was significant.
Hmm. Um. Oh, Neil Walker.
There you go. Nice. That
Let's
was a good pick.
go.
That was a
Let's
good pick.
go. Neil Walker
Wow.
was he was a great Met.
I'm
Well,
impressed.
short term
I'm
Met,
really
but
impressed.
yeah, Neil Walker was solid, dude. He had a good 2016 season from what I remember. I actually want to look at the stats real quick. And I
He
wasn't.
did. That's what I'm saying. 282, 347 on base, 23
Oh
home runs.
wait, I'm an idiot. I
And he
said
had
let me
two,
look up the stats. You just rattled off the stats.
and he had a 2.3 WAR, which is in line with his 162 game average of 2.5 WAR. So great player. We got him 2 years later, which I had
Yep.
completely forgotten about. And just for the fans, I had thought in the rules to this game were they had to play for the Yankees and Mets, so this is why we picked Neil Walker. But in the end, I thought that was a really good, kind of obscure pick, and that was a really good pick by you.
Thanks, Ed. And honestly, I feel like that made it easier on me because of that. Because I'm thinking of the team like you have guys like random guys like James Loney or Kelly Johnson, or I remember Jay Bruce was even on that team. And like, did Jay Bruce play for the Yankees?
Jay Bruce did, but only 10 games. So that would have been like if we
Not
were
count.
going by
Yeah,
what I thought was happening. So yeah. Anyway, he also
interesting.
played, yeah, and Neil Walker also played 113 games for the Yankees in 2018. So same number of games in 2016 and 2018 for New York teams.
You know what? I think we could say safely, no one really lost. So you know what? There is no punishment. Sorry, fans.
I got it in one.
You got into one, I got into, but you also played the game wrong, so it's even.
God damn
Yeah,
it. I don't
I'm
like
making
all these rules.
excuses,
This is
Mets fans.
ridiculous. We're doing this live. We're doing this live at a ball game. We'll get some arbiters. All the fans will tell us who
They could
wins
add,
who.
they could read this. They could pick the player. Actually, we should do something like that. That'd be fun.
Yeah, I like that. That's a good move.
Well, we'll do a mailbag eventually when we get some more viewers here, and we're ready for the opening day preview next weekend. So I think that's a great segment to finish it off here. I think that's a wrap for the episode of the Big Apple Battle. Everybody, we are
Hey.
so close to opening day. So please don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you get your podcasts. Hit us up on Instagram. Keep up with the conversation. Send us an email. We will get you and your questions on the pod. As always, Ed, LGM.
Get wrecked. It's opening day, baby. Let's go.
We'll catch you next time, and we will hit you with that preview. Again, get those hot dogs ready. Foot long, maybe not.
We'll see you for first pitch, whatever you like. It's your preference.
Even if you're vegan.
Don't eat those.
This ball is crushed.